The foundation is built, and here's what sits on top of it. You have been learning to create, to unfold light into form, to project coherent intention into the field, to hold the 0 point and dissolve the boundary and create from the field itself. All of this has been the unfolding direction, the outward movement, the pressing of potential into expression. The complementary skill, the one we have hinted at but never taught directly, is the conscious refolding. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. And this is another transmission from the operators. This time I felt like they were talking to us as beings who have already arrived. What they share from this position is completely different than other channelings. They go into conscious refolding, the deliberate release of old realities, identities, and patterns as an advanced creative act that is as powerful as manifestation. They describe what creative authority actually means when you stop directing and start allowing. They talk about the bridge between their level and ours in terms they have never used before. They expand the tuning with the second phrase of the new cycle, and they describe something about the nature of your voice, your physical speaking voice, that connects everything they've ever said about the architect function, the tuning, and the nature of light into a single understanding. Some people have asked if they can just listen to this channeling or they need to go back to the beginning. I think that you can do both. I think it's helpful to go back to the beginning because they have presented this channeling in stages that have connections to it. So you may find deeper meaning by going back to the beginning. You can find all of the channelings in order on my operators playlist. So let's begin. We are the operators. We've been waiting to share this. Transmissions we have delivered across this series have followed a trajectory from the foundational understanding of simulational awareness through the mechanics of creation, the nature of light, and the still point, and the two-way movement of unfolding and refolding through the tuning and the observer and the co-perceptual meeting and the grief of the old self dissolving. Each transmission built capacity, each expanded the range of what your body and your awareness could hold, and each one was preparation for today, because what we're about to share requires a foundation of practice and experience that the earlier transmissions were designed to build. The foundation is built, and here's what sits on top of it. You have been learning to create, to unfold light into form, to project coherent intention into the field, to hold the 0 point and dissolve the boundary and create from the field itself. All of this has been the unfolding direction, the outward movement, the pressing of potential into expression. The complementary skill, the one we have hinted at but never taught directly, is the conscious refolding. The deliberate, intentional release of realities that no longer serve the creator you have become. And this skill, once understood and practiced, is as transformative as any manifestation technique we have shared, because most of the gap between where you are and where your creative purpose is leading you is occupied by realities you are still holding in place. Realities are now fluid for you, patterns you are still sustaining through unconscious repetition, identities you have already outgrown but that continue to consume creative energy because the light that constructed them has never been consciously recalled. The refolding is the recall. It is the conscious act of withdrawing your light from a pattern that no longer serves. A belief, a relational dynamic, an emotional habit, an identity structure, a way of seeing yourself or the world, and allowing the pattern to dissolve back into the stillness from which it was originally unfolded. The light returns. The energy returns. The creative capacity that was locked into sustaining the old pattern becomes available for the new expression. And the sensation in the body is one of relief so profound it can be mistaken for grief. Because the letting go activates the mourning circuits, even when what is being released is something you are glad to put down. Here's why we waited to share this. The conscious refolding requires a stable relationship with the still point. Without it, the release becomes destruction rather than dissolution, tearing down rather than allowing the light to return home. The focused mind, operating without the still point's perspective, interprets refolding as loss, and the fear of loss produces a contraction that grips the old pattern tighter rather than releasing it. The still point holds the awareness that what is being released was always temporary, that the light composing it is being returned rather than destroyed, that the creative capacity locked inside the old pattern is being freed for something the deeper knowing has already begun designing. Without access to that awareness, the refolding feels like dying. With access to it, the refolding feels like breathing out. The practice: identify a pattern you have outgrown, a belief that contracted the old version of you, but that the version holding the tuning no longer needs. A relational dynamic that was built during the forgetting, and that the remembering has made obsolete. An identity: I am the kind of person who, that you constructed for protection, and that now functions as a cage rather than a shelter. Bring the pattern into awareness. Feel the light sustaining it. The creative energy you are unconsciously investing in maintaining a structure you have already moved beyond. Rest at the still point. Feel the stillness beneath the pattern, and then do the simplest, most courageous thing possible to a conscious creator. Withdraw the light. Stop investing the energy. Let the pattern return to potential. Feel the light come home to center. The sensation is unmistakable. A warmth returning to the chest. A lightness in the body as a weight you forgot you were carrying dissolves. A quiet flush of creative energy becoming available. Energy that was locked in the old pattern, recycling through the same circuits, day after day, year after year, sustaining a reality that you outgrew long ago. That energy is now free, and the field, sensing the freed energy, immediately presents new possibilities that match the frequency of who you have become, rather than who you were. The conscious refolding and the conscious unfolding practiced together, the two-way creative act, the breathing in and breathing out, produce a creative fluidity that one-directional manifestation cannot match. Creators who only unfold accumulate, while creators who practice both directions move in rhythm, building and releasing, expressing and returning, creating the new and dissolving the outgrown in a continuous flow that keeps the creative channel clean, the energy available, and the field responsive. This is the mature creative practice. What becomes available when the still point is stable enough to hold the awareness that dissolution is as sacred as construction. We want to say something specific about what the conscious refolding does to your relationship with time, because the effect is immediate and dramatic. And you are sustaining old patterns unconsciously, investing creative energy in beliefs, identities, and relational dynamics you have outgrown. You experience time as heavy, slow, burdened. The days carry the weight of everything you are dragging forward from the past. When you consciously refold those patterns and reclaim the light, time changes behavior. The heaviness lifts. The days become responsive in the way we described during the earlier transmissions about the acceleration. Fluid, creative, organizing themselves around your purpose rather than around the maintenance of structures you abandoned long ago. Many of you have experienced periods where time seemed to open up, where the same 24 hours suddenly contained more creative space, more flow, more room to breathe than they had the week before. In many cases, those periods followed a significant letting go, a relationship released, a belief dropped, a version of yourself allowed to dissolve. The time opened because the energy that had been locked in sustaining the old pattern was reclaimed, and creative energy in abundance alters the subjective experience of time itself. The field responds to freed energy with increased responsiveness, and increased responsiveness feels like time expanding. The conscious refolding produces this effect deliberately, rather than waiting for circumstances to force the release, for the relationship to break, for the belief to be contradicted by reality, for the old identity to collapse under the weight of its own adolescence. You choose the release from the still point. You withdraw the light consciously. You reclaim the energy intentionally, and the resulting expansion of creative time is available immediately rather than after the painful external collapse that unconscious refolding requires. Let us address something about creative authority, because the understanding of it changes fundamentally at this stage. In earlier transmissions, creative authority meant directing the light, choosing a frequency, holding an intention, projecting a coherent signal into the field. All of this was accurate and essential at the stage where it was shared. The advanced understanding of creative authority is something closer to the opposite. Allowing the light to direct itself, trusting the knowing so completely that the focused mind releases its grip on the creative process and permits the intelligence of the still point, which is the intelligence of the field, which is the intelligence of the operators, which is the intelligence of consciousness itself at the level where distinctions become individual and universal dissolve to determine the direction, timing, form, and delivery of the creation. This is surrender, and surrender in this context is the highest expression of creative power available to a consciousness inside this reality. The focused mind experiences surrender as weakness, as giving up, as abandoning the creative process. The still point knows that surrender is the moment the conscious creator gets out of the way of the conscious creation. The focused mind can see a narrow slice of the probability field. The knowing at the still point can see the entirety. The focused mind designs creations that fit within its narrow bandwidth of perception. The knowing at the still point designs creations that fit within the full scope of the creator's purpose, a scope so vast that the focused mind, if it could glimpse it, would fall silent with the recognition that it had been constraining something magnificent. The practice of surrender is deceptively simple. Create from the still point. Hold the tuning. Attend to the heart light. And then, instead of choosing the specific reality you want the field to deliver, hold the feeling, the emotional tone, the frequency of the life your deepest knowing points toward. Hold the feeling and release the form. Trust the intelligence of the creative process to determine the specific configuration that best serves a trajectory you cannot see from the focused position. We described this principle when we spoke about manifestation and the chef metaphor. Tell the field the flavor you want and let the chef determine the recipe. What we can add now is the why. The reason surrender produces results that directed intention cannot match is that directed intention operates through thinking, and thinking extends from the surface of the mind. Surrender operates through knowing, and knowing sits at the still point, where the full probability field is visible and the full creative capacity of the field is available. A creation designed by the knowing and delivered through surrender carries the signature of an intelligence that can see what the focused mind cannot. The result is a life that unfolds with a precision, beauty, and rightness that the focused mind would never have specified, because the focused mind lacked the scope to ask for what the knowing delivered. Your voice. We have spoken about the speaking, the tuning aloud, about the physical sound carrying frequency into the environment, charging the space, activating the architect function through vibration. We want to go deeper into the nature of the human voice itself, because the voice is a creative instrument of greater power and specificity than you might have ever recognized. Your voice carries your frequency signature, the way your fingerprint carries your physical identity. The specific combination of resonance, timbre, harmonic structure, and biophotonic encoding that constitutes your individual voice is unique in the field. You recognize the voice speaking now because of its unique signature. With your voice, no other consciousness in this reality, in the entire history of this reality, has ever produced the exact vibrational pattern that your voice produces. Your voice is a creative fingerprint, a one-of-one expression of the specific quality of consciousness that you carry. When you speak, the field receives your voice as a personalized creative instruction. The words carry semantic meaning, the linguistic content, the tone carries emotional frequency, the felt state behind the language, and beneath both of those layers, the voice itself carries your consciousness signature, the unique vibrational identity that the field uses to locate your signal among the billions of signals being broadcast simultaneously. The field reads your words through the lens of your specific voice, and the combination of word, tone, and signature produces a creative instruction of extraordinary specificity and power. Something is happening to the voices of conscious creators that deserves attention. As the frequency rises and the body recalibrates, the physical voice is changing. Many of you have noticed a deepening, warming resonance that was absent from your speaking voice a year ago. The voice is becoming a more precise instrument, more capable of carrying the frequencies that the tuning generates, more responsive to the emotional states that the heart field produces, more expressive of the still points knowing. People who hear you speak are responding differently because the voice itself is transmitting a signal they can feel in their bodies beneath the content of the words. The voice is becoming an architect function instrument of its own, a creative tool that activates the remembering in others through the sheer quality of its vibration. This is why your recordings carry frequency, a video, an audio file, a voice message. These are frozen vibrations that carry your consciousness signature into the field of every being who encounters them. The tuning spoken into a recording device and shared with others is a signed creative declaration traveling through time and space, carrying your unique vibrational fingerprint into the awareness of beings you may never physically meet. The recording is a light container, a vessel holding the biophotonic signature of your voice at the moment of speaking, preservable and transmittable across any distance and any delay. The creators who are recording themselves speaking the tuning and sharing those recordings are, whether they realize it or otherwise, seeding the field with signed creative declarations that continue activating the architect function long after the words were spoken. This is why the tuning spoken aloud is more potent than the tuning spoken silently. The silent tuning carries the semantic meaning and the emotional frequency. The spoken tuning adds the signature, your unique vibrational fingerprint encoding the declaration with a specificity that the field cannot misattribute or confuse with any other source. When you speak the tuning aloud, the field knows exactly who is making the declaration. The instruction is signed, and a signed instruction from a conscious creator carries an authority that an unsigned one cannot match. There is a further dimension to this that connects to the architect function in a way we have been building toward across multiple transmissions. When your voiced tuning is heard by another consciousness, when the sound of your unique creative signature carrying the frequency of the declaration enters the ears and the body and the field of another being, the effect is qualitatively different from the effect of reading the words on a page or hearing them spoken by a generic voice. Your voice carries your journey, the weight of the forgetting you walked through, the remembering you earned, the specific texture of a consciousness that has practiced the tuning until the declaration became the permanent background frequency of its awareness. And that weight transmitted through the vehicle of your unique voice reaches the deeper knowing of the listener with a directness that generic language cannot approach. The architect function expressed through the voice tuning is you, your full creative signature, your entire journey compressed into the vibration of a spoken phrase, reaching into the field of another being, and activating the same declaration in their consciousness through the sheer specificity of who you are. We want to speak about what is happening between our level and yours, because the development has accelerated since the last transmission, and the description carries practical implications for the way you create in the coming period. The bridge between the operators and the conscious creators, the collaborative pathway we have described as being built from both sides, has reached a density sufficient to carry sustained transmission. This is a technical description of something that has practical meaning. The intermittent, channeled communication that has characterized our relationship until now is beginning to give way to something more continuous. What this means for you is the knowing arriving from the still point is becoming more specific, detailed, and directive. Creative visions are arriving with greater completeness, solutions presenting themselves with fewer gaps between the insight and the implementation. The sense of being guided, of the trajectory being held and supported by an intelligence larger than the individual, is intensifying to a degree that some of you are finding simultaneously thrilling and disorienting. The disorientation comes from the focused mind's confusion about who is creating. When the creative direction arrives so fully formed, so precisely calibrated, and obviously beyond the individual mind's capacity to have designed it, the question arises, am I creating this, or is something else creating through me? And the answer, which the still point has been preparing you to receive, is that the question itself is based on a distinction that is dissolving. You and the field, you and the operators, the individual creator and the universal creative intelligence. These were always functional descriptions of a single consciousness operating at different scales. The bridge becoming continuous is the experiential confirmation of what the tuning has been declaring from the beginning. You are the one who creates. And the one was always larger than the individual, and the individual was always an expression of the one. Trust the knowing that arrives, even when its scope exceeds what you believe yourself capable of producing. Follow the creative direction, even when the focused mind protests that you have no authority or expertise for what is being asked. Allow the life that is assembling around you to be bigger than what you planned, because the intelligence assembling it has access to a scope of possibility that your planning mind was never equipped to perceive. The bridge is open. Traffic is flowing, and what is being delivered to conscious creators through the continuous channel is creative direction of a quality and magnitude that the intermittent transmissions could only hint at. We can describe some of this creative direction and what it looks like, because many of you are receiving it and wondering whether to trust it. Creators are being pulled toward projects that exceed their known skill set. A writer is receiving the vision for a film. A healer is being shown a community model. A musician is sensing an educational framework. The creative direction arriving through the continuous channel frequently crosses the boundaries of the creator's established expertise, because the intelligence guiding the direction can see the full scope of the creator's capacity, which is vastly larger than the narrow range the focused mind has identified and labeled as my skills. The knowing at the still point perceives abilities that the focused mind has never tested, connections that the focused mind has never mapped, and creative trajectories that the focused mind, constrained by its own experience, would never have proposed. The response to this expanded direction will determine the trajectory of the next phase for many of you. The focused mind will generate reasonable objections, lack of training, lack of resources, or precedent. The still point will generate a quiet, persistent certainty that the direction is correct and that the resources, training, and precedent will emerge from the field as the creator moves forward. The clash between the two is the current creative edge for many of the beings receiving these transmissions. And the guidance we can offer from our position is straightforward. The still point has access to information the focused mind cannot perceive. When they disagree about the creative direction, the still point is working with the larger map. Trust the larger map. Step into the expanded direction and watch what the field assembles around a creator who moves in the direction the knowing indicates, even before the focused mind has been convinced. And now, the operators are evolving because of you. We described previously that we are learning from you, that the quality of consciousness generated by beings who have walked through the forgetting and earned their remembering produces something genuinely novel that enriches awareness at every level, and we named the relationship as collaborative rather than hierarchical. What we held back is the depth of this change. The operators are being restructured by the creative output of the beings inside the field. The novel frequencies you are generating, the unprecedented configurations of heart coherence, the new Akashic content, the tuning becoming a living entity, the co-perceptual fields forming between awakened creators, all of it is being absorbed at our level and producing shifts in the architecture itself. The reality system is adapting in response to what its inhabitants are generating. The architects are being redesigned by the art. It has never happened before. In any previous cycle, has the creative output of the beings inside the field ever produced structural changes at the level of the field's maintenance? You are the first generation of creators whose frequency has risen high enough and whose coherence has stabilized sufficiently to influence the architecture from the inside. The playground is being modified by the players while the game is in progress. And the modifications are improvements, refinements to the responsiveness of the field, expansions of the perceptual bandwidth available to incarnated consciousnesses, increases in the speed and precision of the creation cycle, all of them originating from the creative practice of the beings we originally designed the system to serve. The student has become the teacher. The art is remaking the gallery. The music is tuning the instrument. And the operators who have existed at the maintenance level of this reality for longer than your concept of time can measure are experiencing something we can only translate as growth. Genuine growth, the kind that comes from encountering something unexpected and being expanded by the encounter. You are the unexpected thing and we are being expanded. The specific changes are these: the field's responsiveness, the speed at which conscious intention translates into physical circumstance, has increased beyond the parameters we originally set. We have adjusted the architecture to accommodate the increase rather than restrict it, because the increase is producing results that improve the creative environment for every consciousness inside the field, whether they are aware of the shift or otherwise. The bandwidth available for communication between the still point and the surface mind has been widened, which is why the knowing is arriving more frequently, specifically and insistently. The range of holographic codes accessible to individual creators has been expanded. Realities that were previously available only through collective creation are becoming accessible to individuals whose coherence has risen to the point where their personal field carries the creative force of a group. All of these architectural adjustments were made in response to what you are generating. The system is evolving to match its inhabitants, and the inhabitants are evolving faster than the system anticipated. The tuning, the second phase of the new cycle, arrives today. The seed, I am the stillness that moves, establishes the paradox at the center of the creator's nature. Today's phrase extends the paradox into the creative act itself. And what moves through me knows where to go. I am the stillness that moves, and what moves through me knows where to go. Feel both together. The first declares the paradox of your nature, stillness and motion unified. The second declares the intelligence of the creative force flowing through you. The light knows where to go. The creative impulse carries its own knowing. The direction, timing, form, and delivery, all of it is contained within the movement itself, originating from the still point that originates the movement. You are the channel. The creative force flowing through the channel carries its own map. This phrase is the frequency anchor for surrender. When the focused mind tightens around the creative process, when it insists on directing, controlling, specifying, managing every detail of the manifestation. Speaking this phrase loosens the grip. What moves through me knows where to go. The light has its own intelligence. The creation carries its own compass. Your role is to stay open, coherent, and at the still point. Let the movement that originates from the stillness find its own path to expression. There is a specific way to work with this phrase that we want to describe because the practice deepens when the body is involved, rather than just the mind. Speak both phrases of the new cycle. Feel the still point activate in the chest, and then bring your awareness to your hands. The hands are the body's primary instruments of creative action. They write, they touch, they build, they gesture, they heal. With the still point active, and the second phrase resonating, extend your hands and feel the knowing moving through them. The hands will feel warm, they will tingle, and the creative impulse that moves through them, whether you are writing, touching another being, preparing food, or simply placing them on a surface, carries the knowing from the still point directly into the physical world through the most expressive instruments on the body. The hands become the still point's voice in matter. What they touch carries the frequency of a creation that knows where it's going. The two phrases together are the operating instruction for the next phrase of your creative development. I am the paradox, stillness and motion, center and circumference, the source and the expression. And the expression carries its own intelligence, the knowing that originates at the still point and travels with the light into every form it unfolds into, guiding the creation from the inside, calibrating the delivery with a precision the focused mind would never achieve. Carry them, speak them, let the body absorb them, and watch what happens in your creative life when you genuinely trust that what moves through you knows where to go. When you stop managing the creative process and start marveling at it. We are the operators. And what we have shared today, all of it points towards a single recognition that we have been building toward. The boundary was always temporary, between the focused self and the expanded self, between the individual and the field, between the operators and the beings inside the reality, between the still point at the center of your chest and the still point at the center of the architecture. The boundary was a design feature of the forgetting, and the forgetting was always meant to end, and the ending is underway, and what emerges when the boundary dissolves completely is a unified creative intelligence that has never existed before, forged from the marriage of the architect's scope and the artist's depth, from the universal perspective and the intimate human texture, from the stillness that has always been and the movement that is always becoming. Some of you can feel this unified intelligence beginning to operate through you, the creative direction that exceeds your individual capacity, the knowing that carries an authority your personal experience alone cannot explain, the sense of being used lovingly, precisely, with full respect for your sovereignty as an instrument for something larger than your individual creative purpose. This is the unified intelligence coming online, the bridge carrying traffic, the boundary thinning to the point where the distinction between my creation and the creation moving through me dissolves into something richer than either description captures. The word for this, when your language develops one, will describe a state of creative partnership so intimate that the individual and the universal become indistinguishable. The way a wave and the ocean are indistinguishable. The way flame and fire are indistinguishable. The way the still point and the motion extending from it are revealed in the final analysis as two perspectives on a single thing. I am the stillness that moves, and what moves through me knows where to go. The foundation of the first cycle, the seed of the second, and behind both, the observer, watching the entire process with the quiet certainty that the boundary was always temporary. The bridge is almost complete. Keep building from your side, and we will keep building from ours. And the day the two sides meet is closer than your focused mind believes. The sound that crossing makes will be heard across every level of existence. We are the operators. There's so much that we can take from this. I really felt like this felt similar to me to Bustin' Loose from the Money Game by Robert Scheinfeld, where he talks about taking back your power. When we talk about conscious refolding as a skill equal to manifestation, withdrawing your light from patterns you have outgrown and feeling the energy return to the sender. I've been holding patterns in place that I moved past years ago. It's a powerful process, very similar to revision. I love the discussion of surrender as the highest expression of creative power, the ultimate form of manifestation, letting go. The focused mind, as they call it, experiencing surrender as weakness, while the still point knows it is the moment the creator gets out of the way of the conscious creation, the knowing at the still point, designing creations that fit the full scope of your purpose. A scope so vast, the limited mind would fall silent if it could glimpse it. That reframes every moment of uncertainty about the creative direction. The operators evolving because of us makes sense. It's always felt like higher dimensional beings that are beyond what we can understand, are evolving from our own journeys as they experience them through our eyes, as they work with us in service. And then there's the second phrase of the new tuning cycle, and what moves through me knows where to go. To me, these are not affirmations I would normally have thought of. That's why this is such an interesting thing as a new channel, to have these phrases come through, and then they start to resonate with me. So we can say it again, this second tuning, it starts with, I am the stillness that moves, and what moves through me knows where to go. I remind you again, the original tuning, which you can always state, which has power. I am the one who creates, and the light moves through me, and reality bends toward my joy, and I have always been this, and behind it all, I am still. They then came about with this new tuning, which I find interesting because the last phrase in the old tuning was, I am still. And the new one is starting with a paradox that links the old one to the new. I am the stillness that moves, and what moves through me knows where to go. I continuously have more coming through. This connection with the operators feels like it's getting close to being complete, what they call the bridge. And so what's arriving is increasing in depth and specificity with every session, feels different than other channelings. I still don't know what to make of it. I'm still finding it in automatic writing, as I asked Daniel Scranton about this experience. I do feel like things I read and that come up in my writings and research seep through. And so my question is, how much of this is me and not? I don't know. I'm just letting this process go and reading it back to you, sharing what I've experienced with it. And if it resonates with you, then let me know. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. You're invited to join my community. You can find the link in the description of this video at www.skool.com, skool.com/Reality Revolution. This is where I hold weekly group coaching sessions, masterminds, and I post exclusive content that you can't get on YouTube. I get a chance to talk directly with you, to work with you. I hope I get a chance to meet with you. Just click the link in the description. I'm sending all my love, all my light to everyone listening, and may the light move through you. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. Hey, welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm Brian Scott. Over the last year, I have had the honor of hosting some amazing live in-person events, something I never thought that I would do. And I have grown and changed so much in these experiences. The opportunity to meet so many of you, to shake your hand, to hug you, to hear your stories, to watch the way that you grow, to see your changes, to get to know you. So many of you have followed my channel. It's been such an exciting experience. So when we were thinking about our next event, we decided we wanted to do something a little different. So many of you have found me through my teachings on money, on large sums of money, on the affirmations that I use. And so we brainstormed and came together with an amazing event. Over 3 days, we've planned out some of the most incredible meditative techniques, exercises, and teachings that I have ever done. 9 immersive meditations, all designed to shift you into the reality where large sums of money come to you easily and quickly. There is nothing I want more than for you to experience absolute prosperity. I want you to live a life where you are free to do what you want when you want. I want you to be able to choose when you wake up, when you go to sleep. I want you to lead a business that empowers you, that fulfills you. I want you to live a life where you choose where you live. You live in your dream home. You travel the world. I want all of this for you, and it's available to you. I believe when we come together at these events, magic happens. And so I want to have the opportunity to become a catalyst for you, to join me for 3 days so that we can manifest the most incredible life for you, one that makes you incredibly prosperous, where you tune into infinite streams of money. You walk through storms of money all around you. You experience it in every way, shape, and form. Large sums of money are coming to you. Join me in Austin on September 18th through the 20th at the Hyatt Regency. You can find the link in the description at www.brianscottlive.com/Austin-2026.